A lot of Steelers stuff to get into, and we will do just that in a moment with our good friend from the Post-Gazette, Chris Carter. He'll be on the Fan Hotline presented by Sullivan Super Service, providing trusted plumbing and HVAC service for over 50 years. A woman would not have a second date with Callis because he didn't get her flowers and or chocolate on the first date. And so I've thrown up a Twitter poll. Do you get flowers and or chocolate for somebody on a first date? Overwhelmingly, the response, 90% of people saying no. And the text line has exploded for our guy here. People getting behind Nicholas Harry Callis, including a guy who says, bought a girl chocolates for a first date. She told me she was allergic to chocolate. F her, I left. Oh, my God. We had a woman who chimed in who said, I don't want or expect flowers, chocolate on the first date. I'm one to even split the bill on a first date. Second date, I might let the man pay. I think if you're going to invest in somebody, your time, that's one thing.
I drove a half hour both ways and bought drinks. I'm just saying.
I always have on a first date got the food and or drinks.
Yeah.
That should be enough.
Right.
And if we both agree that we have enough in common and we're vibing and we're having a nice time, second date, you want chocolate, you want flowers, fine. And here's my favorite text on all this. Callis, it's 2024. Bring condoms on a first date.
I didn't bring those. No.
That would be presumptuous, and I think you did the right thing by not bringing them. The Fan Morning Show is brought to you by Guardian Protection, your hometown home and business security company. Chris Carter of the Post-Gazette joins us now. Carter, do you agree with the Twitter poll results? Do you agree with the text line? Would you get chocolate and flowers for somebody on a first date?
Yeah. I let me tell you, I dated like 4 people in my life. The first 3 I didn't do that for. The 4th one I did do that for, and we're getting married next year. So there you go.
Man, I do believe you to be a very romantic man. Do I have that right?
Thank you.
The way you talk about your fiance is the way that I think, and I'm serious about this, all fiancés should want to be talked about. I think it is obvious. I don't know, we need to go all too personal here. It is obvious how much you love her, and you are a big old sap, I think, Mr. Carter.
I am a super sap when it comes to Tiana. She is an amazing person. She makes me better every day. I love her very much, and I hope she hears me because she's literally on the other side of this wall.
You need to speak up. You sound like you're running the old silent count there. We need hot. You got to be as loud as you can, man. All right. Omaha. Let's get down to brass tacks now. So this was a subject of another Twitter poll. We'll just have you react to both of them. Rank these positions, if you will, Mr. Carter, in order of concern. Wide receiver, corner, offensive line.
Receiver, corner, offensive line. As in one's the most concerned?
Yeah, just if wide receiver's most concerning, that would be 1, and then least concerning would be 3, yeah.
Okay, wide receiver, offensive line, corner. I lead with wide receiver because obviously they need answers there. They don't know what they fully have there. They also haven't really seen, I think, the passing game take off yet because they haven't really gotten into it that much. And we've been talking to we talked to Arthur Smith, Russell Wilson, and Justin Fields this week. All 3 acknowledged, like, hey, that what they've been working on has been more experimental than trying to put together the full passing game plan to make that work. And the same thing goes for the run game. But I think that's why we haven't gotten a chance to really see these guys step up. I do think Van Jefferson could be, stepping up. I still think he's more of a wide receiver 3 who can help in the wide receiver 2 position, but isn't a full wide receiver 2 in the NFL. But I think it's more of the unknown that works there. I say offensive line is 2 there because I think you've seen struggles with this offensive line. And they're also a young offensive line. They're very young, and young offensive linemen often are the ones that are learning the most, getting beat up the most, but and then we see if they adapt or not. You remember young David DeCastro once took out Marquise Pouncey in the first drive of the season by cut blocking right into his knee, and then you lost, all-pro center Marquise Pouncey. So that stuff like that takes time. But the reason I list cornerback last is because I really think Joey Porter Jr. looks really solid. I think Dante Jackson is a much better number 2 option at corner than what they had with Patrick Peterson last year, just because Patrick Peterson was older and wasn't as fast. And I really think that Corey Trice has made some really good progress this year at corner. And I don't think there's much to sniff at with Beanie Bishop or Darius Rush either. I think they've got youth. I think they've got depth, and that's why I'll say, it's still not like the strongest position on the team or anything. But I think that of those three, that's the least concerning right now.
Yeah, I went wide receiver. I was most concerned about that, and then I went corner. And then I went the offensive line. I think the offensive line is the most important, but I really believe in the talent that they have there. Like, with all being equal, when everybody's healthy, I think that's the group that has the chance to be the best out of that unit. Doesn't mean it's going to be like that day one. In fact, I don't think it can be like that day one. I believe in the talent.
Right.
The reason I had corner as less of a concern than wide receiver is because not what you said, which I thought is well stated. You talked about some of the guys that you actually think are better than most people might think who are on the outside looking in. To me, it's about you got Watt, you got Highsmith, you got Benton, you got Hayward. I think you got good blitzing linebackers. I think you got good safeties. And I think for all those reasons, you can make up for corner a little bit. Whereas wide receiver, man, I think it can be quite easy to shut this team down. You double George, and I'm going to simplify it, but you double George, you stack the box against the run, and you say, we'll deal with death by a dozen cuts from Freiermuth, and we'll just deal with one-on-one on the outside with Van Jefferson.
See, that could be the strategy there. I think that there's if the offense is more designed to hurt people schematically in the way that I think Arthur Smith is trying to set things up like he did in Tennessee, it will not be easy to just shut down George Pickens while you're also taking away the run, because then there's play action. There's going to be, and I think this is why Russell Wilson is the quarterback you kind of want to run this offense. Russell Wilson's very good at just taking what's there and getting the ball out and finding the open guy and letting that be the result. Because in those situations, that's what teams did. Like if you go back to Ben Roethlisberger, that was one thing that he struggled with. If the run game wasn't there and you took away Antonio Brown and he didn't have Martavis Bryant or Juju Smith-Schuster lighting it up, he was not a dink and dunker who could win with just Eli Rogers. That's what the Patriots did to the Steelers in the AFC Championship
I was
game.
just going to say that, Chris. I was going to say the game that slaps me in the face is, all right, I guess we better throw it to Sammy Coates. Uh-oh. And then we all know what happened there. Work. No, and not for nothing. Of course it's not for nothing. Doran happens to agree with you. He says it's it's going to be a lot harder in Arthur Smith's offense to take away George Pickens than the rudimentary football opinion may make you think. One more thing for you, because we took up way too much of your time with the first date talk here, Chris, but we had Batco on earlier, your colleague for the Post-Gazette. He said he thinks that Russ is, going to win the starting job, but he does really believe that the door is ajar for Justin Fields. Do you agree with that?
It doesn't matter what I think, but I do think that Russell Wilson, he has that lead. I think that the only way he loses this battle is if he plays atrociously on Saturday and then Justin Fields plays really well, and then that is the door that's open. But when I say atrociously, I mean Russell Wilson comes out in 5 drives, those 2 interceptions, doesn't score a single point, and Justin Fields comes out and in 2 drives and scores like 2 touchdowns. Like that's what would have to happen, is that Russell Wilson will have to show like, oh man, like this is not working at all, and Justin Fields show no, I am your best hope. And I think that is what that is what have to happen there. And I think that's what, and Brian and I talked about that on today's North Shore Drive podcast. Check that out for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette on YouTube and all your favorite podcasting apps. But we talked about that and, kind of acknowledged like, look, the door's ajar. And I think that's the fruit of the labor that Justin Fields put forward. When he started camp, he was erratic. His feet weren't together. He was missing easy targets. As by the second week, all that was gone. And each day he stacked it to be better and better and better. But is he still better than the 9-time Pro Bowler in his 13th season, Russell Wilson? I don't think he's gotten there yet, and that's why they're in the position they are. 9th Pro Bowl, 13 seasons. I got to think you did that on purpose. Chris, appreciate the time as always. It's always a lot of fun when you come on, man. Let's keep doing it. Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Thank you. Chris Carter of the Post-Gazette.